Previously on Super Bubsy Mario Bobcat.
Wow.
And now the conclusion.
Hello everyone, my name is Super Bubsy Mario Bobcat, and right now you're in part 2 of a massive two-parter Star Fox Adventures review, the GameCube. Now I'm afraid this part will make absolutely no sense unless you watch the first part first. So either click the first line in the description below or click on the link right next to my scary face in order to see what this game is all about. Now where were we? Ah yes! We're going to the beach!
So after paying the guy 60 scarabs to enter Cape Claw, I make my way there, and I realize just how violent of a beach this is. There are these guys popping out of the sand, there are sharp claws everywhere, but hey, at least this is way better than any of the beaches found in Super Mario Sunshine. I told you this was a good beach. I found gold. Turns out the gold belongs to this guy, and he buried it in the sand.
Below the sands.
You know, why is gold considered valuable here in a world where scarabs are the currency? That doesn't make any sense. After giving back the gold, I wander into a room filled with poisonous gas. After covering the valves, I go back outside, and I free someone from a prison.
Whoa! A Cloud Runner! Shoo shoo! Go away, Cloud Runner! Get away! Have you two met?
He is an Earthwalker. I am a Cloud Runner. Our tribes do not see eye to eye.
So it turns out that this lady is actually the queen of the Cloud Runners, and I need to fly up to Cloud Runner City in order to save her people. Tricky, on the other hand, doesn't want to go up there, so I run back to Thorntail Hollow, I board my R-Wing, and Tricky still comes along despite him literally just saying that he doesn't want to. Make up your mind already. Something I probably should have mentioned in part 1 is that anytime you enter your R-Wing and attempt to fly to another part of the planet, you have to fly through golden rings. Now, right now, it's not a huge issue, but let me tell you guys, later on, it's gonna get much, much, much harder.
It did it, Fox! The force field is down!
So I land on the Cloud Runner Fortress, and instead of the Queen giving me a lift inside, she just flies inside herself and tells me to meet up with her. Well, that's kinda rude. Last Cloud Runner gave Crystal a ride, so why can't I get a ride? Instead I have to run through a bunch of rings in order to open the gate, then climb a bunch of stairwells with a bunch of security cameras, and then I get inside, only to find General Scales inside beating up the Queen. You know what? I think she deserves that.
Where can I find the fox?
Fox interferes and tries to stand up to General Scales, but then is immediately taken out by the security drones, and I wake up in a jail cell.
My staff!
Now this may look bad, but all you have to do to escape is just push a block away from the wall. The jail was poorly built. Now this part of the game is actually really confusing. This other prisoner tells me to go get my staff without the guard seeing me. So I sneak up to the guard, but then he spots me and then throws me back in the cell. So then I try again, but this time I do it from behind, and he still sees me and I'm thrown in the cell. Then I try from the different side, but he sees me again and I'm thrown in the cell again. Then I tried avoiding the puddles, but he still sees me and throws me in the cell again. I tried this over and over and over again, but I still failed every single time. After trying this so many times, I eventually figured out what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to sneak past the guard, walk into the next room, and then wait for Slippy to arrive with a Sharp Claw disguise, walk back into the room while wearing the disguise, and the guard will suspect you're another guard, and you just take his place. That took me over 30 minutes to figure out. After getting Crystal's staff back, I free the other prisoners, and one of them decides to give me a power source for Cloud Runner City. So I take the power source and make my way back to the city. I solve a few more puzzles to make it to the second floor. I find the Queen, who is captured, just like every other princess in a Nintendo game ever, and she tells me to find her kids.
And are now hiding around the fortress.
So the Queen then gives me this horn in order to find her kids. The first couple ones were easy to find, but the third one was a bit more challenging. I had to figure out a way to get to this platform, but I spent a good long time trying to figure out how to get there. Unfortunately, I ran out the clock trying to find it, so I had to start over. It's worth noting that in this game, there's no way to physically restart any challenges, and there's no way to skip any of the cutscenes, so a good chunk of this game is trial and error. But hey, at least this is a quicker trial and error than Super Mario Sunshine. Actually, the least I think about that game, the better. So after I save all her children, she opens up a door leading to the Spellstone, and instead of her coming along with me to show her the exact spot of the Spellstone, she just stays behind and tells me to go down there alone. You know, I think she should come along with me. After all, this is her fortress. She should at least tell me what to do once I'm down there.
So unfortunately right here is where my gameplay footage started glitching out and stuff, and it was crashing my video editing software. So unfortunately, the next couple hours of gameplay is lost. But worry not, the rest of the footage was spared.
The only part of the footage that's worth talking about is getting the next Krazoa spirit and returning it to Krazoa Palace. Aside from that, there wasn't much else to discuss. Oh, and I also met Tricky's father and fought a giant T-Rex, but we'll get back to Tricky's father later in the game. I get to the next Krazoa spirit, which is the test of strength. And let me tell you, it's probably one of the easiest spirits to get in the game. All you have to do to beat this one is to spam the A button as quickly as possible. So after collecting and returning yet another Krazoa spirit, I'm then board my Armwing in order to go to a place called Dragon's Rock.
To go to Dragon Rock, your toughest challenge yet.
Now, remember what I said earlier about the Arwing stages? Right now, it's not a huge issue, but let me tell you guys, later on, it's gonna get much harder. Well, you can probably guess what's next. This right here is hands down the hardest Arwing stage in the entire game. In this stage, you need to collect 10 gold rings in order to progress through, and sadly, this stage only has 10 rings, meaning you have to get every single one in order to progress. And every single time, I keep messing up. I tried this stage over and over and over again, and I kept failing every single time.
You failed to get. It did it, Fox! The force field is down!
Yes! Finally! So after almost an hour of Arwing stages, I finally land on Dragon's Rock, which is very different than the Dragon's Rock I'm aware of. Hey, wait a minute. That sounds familiar. So after the Star Wars reference, I get a ride from an Earthwalker to destroy a bunch of shield generators in order to gain access to the main tower. I then enter a giant room where this guy tells me he needs saving. And it's at right here that I want to address something that I really should have addressed earlier in the video. The aiming controls in this game are awful, and that's because of one giant flaw: the controller. The GameCube controller joystick is incredibly stiff and stays upright the entire time. Other games on other consoles don't suffer this due to the controllers being built much better. It makes aiming much more precise than what's on the GameCube. The GameCube controller is built in a way that in order to make precise aiming, you have to slowly move the joystick in the direction you want to go, and hopefully it will aim on the target. And unfortunately, you cannot take your time right here. Whenever you successfully hit a target, you only have a limited amount of time to hit the other targets before the rope reforms around its neck. So unfortunately, you need to go as quickly as possible. Let me tell you, I spent hours and hours on this part of the game alone, just trying to hit all the targets at once. Oh, and to add insult to injury, in the intro, they show the NPC doing it perfectly. So after several hours of trying to do this, I finally set him free, and he lets me ride on his back as he takes me to the central tower. So I make it to the tower, and I solve a very long and complicated bomb puzzle in order to set this guy loose.
Are you okay?
Hey, wait a minute.
I'm fine.
He looks familiar.
Thanks for helping me out. Hey, aren't you a friend of Crystal?
How do you know Crystal?
I helped her get onto General Scale's galleon. But after I left, I was captured by the shark claws, and I've been stuck here ever since. Why don't you climb aboard? I need to stretch my wings.
So I get on his back and he flies me up to the tower so I can go find the spell stone.
Scales has it guarded by a terrible creature. You must be careful, Fox.
I then arrive at the second to last boss of the game, and it's right here where I discovered why this place is called Dragon's Rock. This right here is the easiest boss fight of the entire game. All you have to do to beat him is spam the A button as quickly as possible. Do this for a couple minutes and you'll win. Wow, Nintendo loves throwing lizard creatures in lava. And with that, I have the final spell stone. Now to return to the Arwing, fly back to the planet, return to Cape Claw, go back to the temple, return the final spellstone. We watch as the planet reforms!
Yeah! We did it, Fox! Guys, are you seeing this? Mission complete!
And it doesn't.
What's going on? We've placed all the spellstones.
There must be more to it, Fox. Since you left Walled City, I've been studying your mission. And I've noticed there's something hidden at the top of that huge temple. It looks like a Krazoa shrine entrance.
Oh yeah, I could have told you that.
I've never hit a kid before.
Head back to Thorntail Hollow and get my Arwing, and fly back to the Walled City. It's there that I run into his father, and he shows me how to get to the next Krazoa
Stones are returned to the temple.
What comes next is possibly the thing I feared most in this game. The cryptic part. So I take an elevator to the top of these two temples, and this is the point where the game doesn't tell you anything else. They don't tell you what to do, they don't hint at what you're supposed to do, they give you absolutely nothing. On my very first playthrough of this game, I spent hours and hours and hours walking around the entire area trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do to progress. The game gave me nothing. Even the hint system didn't give me anything. I eventually had to YouTube what I'm supposed to do, and what I learned absolutely shocked me. You're supposed to look through this hole using Fox's binoculars that reveals a light that opens a door into a chamber where you get 2 keys to enter the Krazoa Spirit Shrine. The game in no way told me to do that. But then again, I shouldn't have expected much. I mean, after all, this is Nintendo. The same company that's supposed to say you're supposed to kneel at the end of a gravestone in order for a tornado to appear. Get to the second to last Krazoa Spirit, which is the Test of Knowledge. Personally, I think this is the most creative Krazoa Spirit in the game. What this is a memory test. It gives you a bunch of items that you use throughout the game, and locations that you use the items in. All you have to do is match the items with the locations you found them in. Now, if you happen to play the game in one long sitting, you can complete this with no problem. But if you played this over an extended period of time and happen to forget some of the items, then you might be in trouble. But with enough trial and error, you'll be able to get it in no time. And with that, I have the 5th Krazoa Spirit, which means I only need one more to complete the game.
This is it, Tricky. It's time to say goodbye.
Goodbye! Okay, I'm good.
I know you're right, Fox. It's just... Yeah, I know. I'm gonna miss you too.
I won't.
Without your help, this mission would have failed. I'll come and visit you soon. Just don't make it too long, okay?
Don't worry, Tricky. We'll see you in 3 years when the sequel comes out. After saying goodbye to Tricky, I board my Arwing again, and instead of flying back to Thorntail Hollow, instead I fly to Krazoa Palace. Well, that's a bit different. We're almost finished with this game, guys. Time to return this Krazoa spirit and reveal the location of the final one. And it was right next to Crystal this entire time. How about that? So I make my way to the top of the tower, enter the Krazoa Shrine, and it's right here that we can finally begin the final boss of the game.
Yeah! You may have returned the Spellstones, but the war is not over yet. Now you must face me.
Finally take him down and...
Stop!
Wait, what's going on?
Scales! You are no longer any use to me.
Wait, what?
Who are you? I demand you show yourself.
I am the one you brought to Krazoa Palace. The Earthwalkers could see me, but you could not.
I don't understand.
No, I didn't think you would. Your desire for power overwhelmed you and blinded you to the truth inside. Now give Fox what he's looking for. Give him the final Krazoa spirit.
Huh?
You will regret this.
It was in him all this time. But that voice, I recognize it from somewhere.
What in Dinosaur World is going on here? So yeah,
will
big reveal,
regret this.
General Scales isn't the final boss of the game. Well, if it's not him, then who is it? Guess we're about to find out, since I've gained the last Krazoa spirit. I'm to set Crystal free from her prison.
What's going on? You said this would save her. No!
Oh, come on, Nintendo. Don't make her Barry 2.0. Oh, good. Never mind. You didn't. So after saving Crystal, the final boss appears in the sky, then flies in outer space. Then I board my Arwing to chase after him. And who is this final boss, I hear you asking?
I've been looking forward to this day.
Oh, it's Andross again. For those who don't know, Andross was the final boss in the original Star Fox for the SNES and Star Fox 64. So instead of giving us a brand new villain like General Scales as the final boss, they just go ahead and reuse the exact same final boss from the other games.
Andross!
How unoriginal, Nintendo. You can't come up with new characters, so instead you just reuse old characters. Well, you can probably guess how to defeat Andross. Fighting Andross for a bit and taking a lot of damage, Falco Lombardo will make a cameo and help you out throughout the battle. Hey, thanks Falco, it's good to see you again.
And you still need Falco's help. It's good to see you, buddy.
After several minutes of blasting, Andross is finally defeated, and during the final cutscene, we see the Krazoa spirits reform the planet back together.
We did it, Fox!
Dinosaur Planet is saved!
Andross is defeated once again!
You all did a great job.
All of them? What are you talking about? Slippy was the only one who was helping me. He was giving me directions the entire time. Peppy only sat around on his lazy bum giving me orders, and Rob did absolutely nothing. If anything, I should only be thanking Slippy for all the help. And
Way to
Falco,
get
since he
back with
came
the
in and
Star
helped me at the
Fox
last
team.
second. So
Hey,
yeah,
guys.
thanks Slippy, thanks Falco, and thanks for nothing Peppy and Rob. Yeah, you two are worthless.
You don't mind if I hang with you again, do ya?
Sure, Falco. It's great to have you back.
Where did he go in between games?
Oh, Fox! I almost forgot. I received this message from Crystal.
Hi, Fox. I really appreciate what you did for me. I'm just so sorry we didn't get much of a chance to talk. I'm left with just one more thing to do.
And that's to say thank you.
Well, okay. I mean, sure, no problem.
You're not shy, are you, Fox? My sensors indicate Fox's temperature is rising. Are you okay, Fox?
I'm gonna be just fine.
Finally, an ending to a Nintendo game where the hero actually gets his romantic partner. That's a first.
So that was Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. What's everyone complaining about? It's a fun game.
Yeah, I mean it. This is a really good game. The combat's really fun, the puzzles, though challenging, are really creative. The graphics are really good for 2002, and the characters, though annoying at times, are really memorable. However, the biggest downside to this game is the story. This really does feel like it was one game that was turned into a Star Fox game at the last minute. The story just throws Star Fox characters in randomly, and I wish the game focused a little bit more on Crystal before making her dance with the stress, and the Arwing stages were really challenging, and they got a bit annoying after a while. Also, I have no idea why they decided to give a special thanks to the Mario team, what they contribute to this game. Despite all these flaws, I still thought this was a pretty good game. Not perfect, but I still liked it.
Well, that's the end of Star Fox Adventures, but we're not done with this review, because there exists another version of this game.
I mentioned before how the game was originally supposed to be released on the Nintendo 64 under the name Dinosaur Planet, and how the game was cancelled and reworked into a Star Fox title. Ever since that day, fans have been absolutely hoping that a ROM of the original Nintendo 64 version of the game would be released in a playable state. Well, in February 2021, the game was finally discovered and released to the public.
Well, here it is, Dinosaur Planet, the original Star Fox Adventures.
Before we begin, I have to question something. This game was cancelled then released. Star Fox 2 was cancelled then released. Duke Nukem Forever 2001 was cancelled then released. But 12 Tales Conquer 64 was cancelled but never released. So when is this game going to get released? After watching the intro, it's time to create a new save file and put in my name. Funny enough, this game has 5 letter inputs, while the other game only had 3. The game's opening is almost identical to its GameCube counterpart, as we see Crystal riding on a Cloud Runner trying to find Kamizoa Palace. The only difference in this game is the graphics took a nosedive due to it being on the Nintendo 64, and instead of Crystal speaking in a made-up language, instead it's fully translated to English.
I've had a garbled message from the wizard. Something about a floating mountain hidden within a storm.
And since Crystal was attacked by General Scale's flying ship in the GameCube version, it also had to happen in this version too. The next couple moments are essentially the same as the GameCube counterpart. However, some of the dialogue is noticeably different.
General Scale, ruler, tyrant, and dictator of the Sharpclaw tribe. And who might you be, animal girl?
Instead of Crystal being thrown off the ship and rescued by a Cloud Runner, instead she takes control of the ship and lands it at the palace. Well, at least they changed it up a little bit.
Try not to move. The wizard will help you.
He can't help me. Our king sent us here to protect him. But Scales appeared.
Whoa! Did that Earthwalker just die? He didn't die in the GameCube version. Traveling deeper into the palace, I come across this character named the Wizard. He's basically this game's version of General Pepper, as he gives us some insight into the game's backstory, as well as telling us the objectives we'll be facing in the game.
Let me tell you about the history of Dinosaur Planet. When time was just beginning, a race known as the Krazoa ruled this world and much of the universe. Though in a great battle, they and much of the universe were destroyed. And from this destruction came life. The dinosaurs' god, the great Chimera dragon, created this world. And since that day, life has been good.
Wow, this game's giving us a lot of backstory. The GameCube version only hinted at it.
Something else.
As I'm exiting the palace, General Scale shows up and kidnaps Princess Kite. So instead of Crystal being kidnapped, Princess Kite gets kidnapped. Alright, cool. We can keep Crystal as a playable character. So after all that, I come across a familiar face. The Warp Stone. Only in this game, he's a Swap Stone, and the Scottish accent is gone. It also turns out that he's actually one of 2 Swap Stones in the game, and instead of this guy being selfish and greedy like last time and asking for a piece of rock candy, he just helps you without question.
Come and visit me.
Okay, that's another
I'll
plus
show you
side.
how my magic works.
No, wait! I've got to find Discovery Falls.
You've got lots of time to do that. Let me show you how the swap works.
So it turns out this version of the game has 2 playable characters as opposed to 1, and the Swap Stone is used to change between the 2 characters. Right now we're going to switch over to Saber, who was the character who was removed due to his resemblance to Fox McCloud.
I sure hope Randon's right about this place.
Or I'm playing as Fox, not Saber.
Freeze to death.
Turns out the ROM that was found in this game must have been during the Star Fox Adventure's transformation, seeing as though Fox McCloud is in place of Saber. I did find Saber's model in the game files, but the model is a bit glitchy, as his sword glows a bright white color instead of it being fully rendered. So I recommend you play as Fox throughout the game. So as you might have guessed, the next part of the game is saving Tricky from the Sharp Claws.
Hey, Scaleface, pick on someone your own size. What? Who's that? I am Fox McCloud, Royal Knight of the Lilat System.
And I gotta say, the chase section in this game is much easier than the GameCube version. So then I saved Tricky, and thankfully I can understand what he's saying.
Spring, or you'd be frozen by now.
Ua sizbu aku kutsuk furu, a uat rovequat rodan. What?
Why, you little...
Hey, I wouldn't if I were you. My dad's a king Earthwalker, and he'll bash you up.
I don't think he'll be doing any bashing. He's been captured. That's why I've been sent to rescue you.
He's been captured?
Yeah,
that's right.
So show me a little
so
respect.
Stop moaning and let's get you back to your home.
I'm too hungry to talk to strangers.
Oh, not this again. Why is Tricky's ball buried out here in the snow? Alright, let's collect the food for the snow horn, then give it to him so we can move on already.
One food is never enough. I'm starving.
What is it with you kids? Every other day it's food, food, food.
I'm starving.
Oh, fine. I'll get you some stupid food.
Can we have Binder Burgers again?
No, the cat shelter's on to me.
After traveling for a bit, I crawl into this cave, and I wind up in a place called Swapstone Hollow. And it's pretty much this game's version of Thorntail Hollow, as its layout is very similar. I then wander into this cave where I find Tricky's mother, and just like before, I have to find 10 white mushrooms in order to cure her of the sickness. So I start looking for the mushrooms, and then my game crashed. So I had to restart the game, and I went to look for the mushrooms once again. So I take the mushrooms back to the queen and give it to her, and Fox
if
just
you don't
walks
need
away.
me any further, then I'll be off.
Yeah, turns out in this game, Fox doesn't want to save the world,
warned me you would be like
as
this.
opposed to the other
The
game
planet
when he
needs
wants
your
nothing
help.
more than to save the world. Still,
Come on,
Fox and
Tricky,
Tricky
let's
begin
get
their
going.
adventure, and they head over to the swap stone. It's
Are
here
you
that I switch
ready
over to
to
Crystal
swap?
and continue her adventure. Well, Crystal mentioned before that she needs to find Discovery Falls, so I guess we should look around for that. Words cannot describe how beautiful this music is. As a matter of fact, most of the music in this game is really well done. Actually, what was it I said earlier in this review? The only difference in this game is the graphics took a nosedive due to it being on the Nintendo 64. No, I take it back. The graphics are actually really good for the N64. As a matter of fact, while I was playing this game, I completely forgot I was even on the N64. This honestly looks like a GameCube game. That's how good these graphics are. Fortunately, this right here is where all my excitement died down. It was at this point that the game started glitching out like crazy. Like right here, Crystal's supposed to get on this log and paddle with her staff, but instead she morphs right into the log and the log continues on its own. Then right here, the log starts disappearing out of nowhere. The game also crashed a couple times right here. So unfortunately, my copy of the game is way too glitchy to continue the review, so I had to stop recording before something bad could have happened.
Even though this game is incredibly glitchy, buggy, and laggy, I can't really complain too much because this game was never released. You know, and remember, this is only a ROM of the game. And I have heard that people online are trying to fix the bugs to this game, so who knows. Maybe in the future we'll get a much better, polished version of this game, and maybe somewhere in the future I'll be able to do a full review of this game right here. But only time can tell. Well, that's pretty much it for Star Fox Adventures and Dinosaur Planet for right now. All I can say right now is thanks for watching my very first game review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to making more in the future. Now what am I going to review next?